And we start with a Fox News alert because the horse race, well, folks, it's beginning right now. Republican lawmakers scrambling now to figure out what's next after one of the party's top three leaders prepares to step aside. Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen Carlson. Welcome to this edition of The Real Story. Chaos in Congress, no better way to put it, as we learn now that House Majority Leader Eric Cantor will walk away from his post. The shakeup coming less than a day after his historic defeat at the hands of college professor David Bret in Virginia's Republican primary. So a GOP source telling Fox that members are, quote, freaking out now. Bret Baier is the host of Special Report and my guest. There's been a lot of quotes that have been flying around today. Stunning would be, the number one word, probably the headline. But what are we to make of it? What's next, Bret?
Gretchen, freaking out is just the beginning. There are some shocked lawmakers up there on Capitol Hill. There's also a lot of horse race. There is a lot of jockeying around to see who's going to fill this position. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor is stepping down, and he will leave his post July 31st. So he'll be here through the end of July. Now there's this race to see who will fill that spot, the House Majority Leader spot. He is said to be pushing for Kevin McCarthy, the current GOP whip. But there are many others, like Jeb Hensarling. There's rumors that he's really going to make a run at this from Texas. And there's going to be others who really position themselves for leadership. Paul Ryan says he's not going to do it.
Right. That just came through. He's not. House Rules Committee Chair Pete Sessions. What about Jim Jordan of Ohio, Kathy McMorris Rogers of Washington, and uprising women in the GOP, GOP Vice Chair Lynn Jenkins of Kansas. I mean, names are flying all over the place. But what does this mean? These elections, by the way, will happen at the end of July as well. But what does it mean for the GOP in coming together moving forward before the midterms?
Well, it means that these lawmakers are going to be looking closely at the issues that they vote on, because this had an amazing impact. We talked last night at length about how this likely wasn't solely about immigration, because it was a big anti-establishment vote for Dave Bret. He did campaign against Cantor on the issue of immigration, and with the breaking news out west about the children, illegal immigrants being in Arizona and Texas, it seemed to compound that issue. But I think you're going to see immigration reform move to the back burner again. I think the hopes of passing something comprehensive for supporters of that are going to fade. Yeah. And I think lawmakers are really going to be looking hard at some of these issues that really fired up the base.
It's interesting. Steny Hoyer has given this quote: the Republican Party is deeply divided and dysfunctional, as you would expect a Democrat to say. And then on the other hand, a House GOP leadership aide says, look, we need to have direction. I mean, this is the House of Representatives. It just can't be Lord of the Flies. Does it seem like that up on Capitol Hill today?
Well, it's a little chaotic, and Chad Pergram, our producer up there, is doing a good job of racing everybody down and getting comments from a lot of people and who they're backing. But overall, there is this shocked feeling. I mean, this is the first time in the history of the Republic that a House Majority Leader has lost in a primary. Yep. It's hard to overstate the politics here. And the Washington Post has a great map of the district, if you look at the election last night, and how much Dave Bret actually won outside Richmond in the suburbs. It's astonishing.
It was astonishing. I saw that map. I know exactly what you're talking about. Bret, we'll see more of you and more of this discussion today on Special Report. Thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen.
So the House Republican Conference set to meet less than, 2 hours from now. This, as Eric Cantor says, he's going to stay on, as we've been telling you, till the end of July. So how will his decision to step down from his leadership position affect the GOP's legislative agenda? Yet another angle. Joining me now, Congressman Chris Smith, a Republican from New Jersey. Great to see you, Congressman. So how will it affect the legislative agenda?
Well, Eric Cantor is a world-class lawmaker and a man of great integrity. He will be the majority leader until he actually steps down, and the agenda will be robust. We are, all politics is local, and this is, a day of sadness, especially for Eric, because he's such a good and trusted lawmaker. But I do think that there will be some lessons learned. In a couple of minutes, I'm convening a hearing, as I think you know, on Boko Haram, a horrific terrorist group. I just spent 4 days on the ground in Nigeria, in Abuja. meeting with those who have been victimized by this horrific organization.
Right.
And so that's what the hearing will be about in a few minutes.
I'm going to give you your time on that in just a couple of minutes, because I know you want to share some photos as well. But before I switch topics, who do you believe should fill Eric Cantor's position as far as his leadership position?
Well, we have a meeting at 4 o'clock, and it'll become clear who is likely to run. Certainly the current whip, Congressman McCarthy, is in the running and probably or maybe in the lead, if there is such a thing, because very often when these changes occur, people do move up. I mean that's what leadership is often about. People who are deputy whip become whip and the like. Well, I've been in Congress 34 years, and that's usually the way it works.
Well, how does one incident like this, though, seem to change the tide of politics? Because so much of the talk going into the midterms has been, look, Democrats are back on their heels, right? Does it change the scope of the midterm elections or not?
No, not at all. I think just the opposite. I think we will redouble our efforts. Obama remains the key issue. Obamacare is one of the worst job-killing pieces of legislation ever enacted, and people realize that. We're seeing it in my district, we're seeing it throughout the country, that it has incentivized the end of employer-based health care, the huge tax increases that have occurred, and that's just the first tranche of those who have been put into Obamacare. The global issues that have emerged. When I heard the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, talking about how they've changed the foreign policy, I've been on the Foreign Affairs Committee for 32 of my 34 years. I chair the Human Rights Committee.
Right.
We have never been in such a morass, whether it be what's going on in Kiev and Ukraine, South China Sea with China, and of course the Middle East.
And I want to get to that now because, as you just mentioned before, you spent 4 days in Nigeria, and the Boko Haram striking again. So just this past Monday, the terror group kidnapped 20 more schoolgirls, this on top of the 276 abducted 2 months ago. So you were just there. You met with one of the girls who managed to escape. Here she is.
Yes.
I'm showing the photo of it right now. What did she tell you?
Well, with tears and with she barely moved her body as she spoke. She sat in a chair. She was numb from the experience. She just kept saying how her friends and her classmates, she just longs to know that they're okay. She escaped very early on, and she, from that experience, has been greatly traumatized. One can only imagine what these young girls are going through, plus the 20 you just mentioned and others who have been kidnapped by this terrorist organization. And what's often left out is that they slaughter the boys. They kill the men and kidnap the girls. I remember the woman who in 2012, and this has been going on a long time, they came to her house, shot her husband because he wouldn't convert to Islam, abducted her 2 daughters, came back 3 months later and shot her son when he wouldn't convert to Islam. They also kill Muslims who they don't consider to be extreme enough.
Right. I know you're doing a lot to try and make this all right in that part of the world, as well as on Capitol Hill for domestic issues. Great to see you, Congressman Chris Smith.
Thanks
you,
Gretchen.
Much.
And can I just add?
We'll hear what he had to add next time he joins us. Well.